So Disney was talking about remaking Yellow Submarine. Would that make Yoko Ono a Disney princess?
Yes, immediately.
Oh, all right then. Congratulations, Yoko. Welcome to the Disney Desk.
Princess Ono.
I like it.
Yes, we'll take it.
Welcome to the Disney Desk, everyone. That's what happens when you're not doing something about a specific movie and you need to think of something on your feet. Welcome back. I'm Carter.
And I'm Sydney.
And we are recording about a week after we did our Star Wars.
Yeah, sorry we talked that long.
Yeah, I'm still finishing up the edit as we're doing this one, just because it became overwhelming. That was originally 2 hours and 10 minutes that I cut down to about an hour 40, and that's the best I'm going to do, darn it.
Yeah, put up with it. That's as good as it's going to get from us.
Well, it's just frustrating because the content's not bad. It's just rambly.
Yeah, we
we
kind of got out of hand. We're sort of kind of figuring out that even though in our minds we have a lot to talk about, we really do need structure for this to not just go off the rails entirely.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
To be a little sharper.
Right.
The problem is not quality, it's focus, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
So this week, because both of our winter breaks are kind of wrapping up. So we're going to try to do something a little different. Instead of doing one big episode, we're going to do 3 or 4 smaller 20 to 30 minute episodes to try to get as much content as possible so we can sort of get a more regular schedule with our releases, like maybe once a week or so, maybe once every 2 weeks.
Something like that, yeah.
So that way we can meet up, record a bunch of stuff, then release it
gradually, yeah.
I think that would work better for both of us. And we have a couple fun topics for this session. We're going to get right into them after the bloopy music. And we're back. So for our first topic today, we want to talk about something that I've kind of been excited for, an idea I've had for a while. Basically, Disney dream projects. Essentially, if Disney came to you and asked you for an idea to make into another one of their lavish 2D or CGI musicals, what would you want it to be about? What topic, genre, subject would you be interested in doing? And we have a couple different ideas, ranging from very specific to a little more broad. And take it away, Sydney.
Well, my first idea was more on the broad side. I think, at least I personally am ready for Disney to explore people with disabilities. I don't want to say we've covered every single race topic. We certainly haven't covered every single topic or social issue that needs to be discussed. We definitely haven't represented everybody that there is to represent, but I think it's time to explore people who have disabilities of whatever that could be. And I think that person needs to be the protagonist, the hero of the story, the princess, and have them somehow be impaired, whether they're deaf or maybe blind or maybe in a wheelchair or somehow have a physical impairment. I think that's past due, actually. I think we could have did this. But I would love to see that happen next, and I really don't have any personal ideas of specifically how a story for that would go, but that would excite the hell out of me.
Yeah. I mean, this is one area I think DreamWorks actually kind of beat Disney to the punch. How to Train Your Dragon, both the dragon and the main protagonist both have a physical impairment, which I thought for a kid series is pretty mature and interesting. Right. And, they don't pause and reflect on it that much, but it is a part of their character, which I think is cool, and it's a part of the plot to a certain extent.
Right.
I guess in my head, I would use that as an opportunity to do something kind of more in the modern era, like with modern technology and stuff, maybe something less fanciful.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, and like you said, we haven't really covered all social issues, but this is one we haven't really covered at all.
Yeah.
I guess you can make the argument Hunchback of Notre Dame to a certain extent, but Quasimodo is still, he's still conventional, he still can sing, he still can walk, he can he's not physically
and his
impaired that much.
You're right, but the impairment that he does have is ostracized, and like the point of the entire movie is that he's like a freak. You know what I mean? And only like one or two characters like appreciate him for that.
Yeah.
So I want a movie that is kind of that idea but turned on its head, where like no one really has to talk about the fact that you have a disability.
Yeah.
It's just normal, and for most people it is normal, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't want a movie that has like that kind of like freak show topsy-turvy.
Yeah,
you
no,
it's
I
just
definitely
like,
agree with that.
This is just a normal person functioning in society like everybody else who happens to be a hero or have some sort of powers or something.
Yeah.
And maybe happens to be in a wheelchair, but that really isn't the point.
Yeah. Like, it's not as much about overcoming social stigmas, it's living with it day to day and just living in a world.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I can get behind that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the one that I've had in my head for a really long time, and again, this might harken back to me loving Pirates of the Caribbean growing up, but I would really like them to do a animated musical pirate movie. Like, I think...
I was gonna ask, I was like, is that gonna be like animated or live action?
This one would be animated, because I think, you know, the Pirates films and Treasure and Muppets Treasure Island, you sort of covered live action pirateering, both actiony and musically. Specifically, if I were going to pinpoint a specific section, like, I would actually want it to be about a real-life figure. Grace O'Malley is a pirate whose history has greatly interested me. She was a pirate in Ireland during the Elizabethan era who sort of terrorized the entire English Channel for several decades. Some of the stories about her define badass. One time, a crewmate had been was being like choked out, so she climbed up a rafter and then pile drived the rival pirate with an elbow drop, like she was a pro wrestler.
Nice.
She was going into labor as her ship was being boarded. She gave birth, then proceeded to climb on to like the deck and helped fight off the pirates. Her first husband, she just decided she was bored with, so stormed his castle, took it over, and then just dumped all of his stuff out.
As one does. Yeah.
And sort of her biggest claim to fame, her legend, is several viceroys and like English, basically occupiers, were basically oppressing the Irish people, so she went on a reign of terror, destroying as many ships as she could, and then rode her way to London, demanded audience with Queen Elizabeth, and Queen Elizabeth respected her so much, she agreed to remove those specific viceroys, and it was like this incredible moment of the two most powerful women in the universe meeting, and having a mutual respect for each other. They actually did do a musical about her life on Broadway. It wasn't well received.
What was it called?
I think it was called The Pirate Queen.
Oh.
Because that's like her moniker or nickname. Yeah, it's not great.
Oh.
I don't know. I just think it's a very fertile ground for Disney to make something really unique. And I think it would be a good way of sort of bridging the gap between their classical musical animated stuff and their early 2000s attempts at doing more action-heavy stuff like Treasure Planet or Atlantis. I think that could be a cool opportunity. Wow. I definitely think more action-heavy Disney movies could be. Moana's proven you can have it both ways. Right. So I think this would be the logical next step.
Cool. So and the other idea that I had was an African movie that is not about animals. I don't think we know enough about... Well, actually, that's not even true. I wouldn't even say that we don't know enough about life in Africa. We just refuse to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
I think widely the idea for Americans at least is that like in Africa the people just kind of like live in huts and like it's just like still like a very primitive place, and for a lot of Africa that is still the case, even though I wouldn't even go as far as to call them primitive. I think that term is kind of relative to do you know what I mean? But Africa has bustling cities. Africa has so much modern life in it, and I think we deserve a movie with Black people, specifically African people, that is sophisticated and respectful. I just recently saw this post that had, like all all animated characters from all different, like movie companies, and their voice actors, and it was just all black voice actors, and they're all animals. Like, because, like, you've got
woof.
your Mushu, your donkey from Shrek.
Yeah.
And I think
Ooh,
that's
that doesn't
how...
look good.
Doesn't look good at all. And I think, generally, that's kind of how we view black people, at least in their relation to white people, is that they're, like... They're for, like, the funny...
Yeah.
To be, like, the funny sidekick.
Yeah. At best, they're funny supporting characters.
Right.
And then, often, that turns into animal sidekicks.
Pretty much. But then this over-the-top kind of obnoxious... type character, but still is some sort of animal. And I mean, Lion King Lion King is Lion King.
It's a masterpiece, but
right.
At the same time,
that's not. But I think we deserve an African movie with
that
African
acknowledges people are there.
That acknowledges people are there. Yes, and that has dignity
and are still there in spite of other groups' best efforts
to take that apart. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, just on that note of, like, showing, like, mainstream audiences there's more to Africa than the stereotype of, like, huts and stuff. I think that's why I'm so enamored with Black Panther, the upcoming film. Mm-hmm. Just showing this, like, vibrant futurist version.
Right.
Like, I think that's so awesome.
And also, there would be no white saviors. There would be no John Smith characters coming in, like, at all. Like, this is just an African movie.
Yeah. Well, like, that's what I liked about Coco. I don't think there was a single white character.
No.
And, or in well, I guess Moana, the explanation is because it's, like, pre-Columbian era. But, still. Yeah. Like, again, and with those films... Now that Disney's proven they can do this consistently and respectfully, we just want them to do everything.
They need to, yeah.
Yeah, and this is a big opportunity.
Right.
And then I have a couple random ones. For me, one thing I would really love is another horror Disney film. One of my favorites of theirs is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which was it wasn't a full 90-minute feature. It was like a 15-minute. That was in the era with, instead of releasing full feature-length films, they were doing, like, little packages of, like, 4 or 5, maybe not that many, but like little group things, because it was during the war and they couldn't sit down and make that.
That was like when I don't know, my grandfather was telling me about how, you could pay 15 cents and see, like, 3 movies. Yeah. Like how you would, like, it would always be, like, a cartoon, and then, like, the movie that you actually went to see, and then, like, some other, like, animated feature at the end of it. Like, so I guess this would have been shown.
Yeah, basically, basically it would have been that, but with all animated stuff. Yeah. And I just loved The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I thought it was one of their best early works. It's creepy, the style is luscious, and just the tone is really cool. And I would just like to see them expand on that. Mm-hmm. You could base it off a piece of literature like Frankenstein or Dracula. You could make it something wholly original. I just want to see, like, even the horror stuff Disney's done that isn't so great, like Haunted Mansion. Yeah. Like, the art style and the mood are still really spot on. Like, they're vibrant. The gothic design is really cool. The colors are cool. Yeah. Like, that in a 2D or CGI space would just be awesome. Yeah. One of my other big ones, unfortunately this one probably isn't going to happen now. I really wanted them to do another circus, like a big circus musical. Like, obviously not Dumbo, but maybe on, like, The Life of Barnum. I was in a musical about Barnum in high school, and I became kind of infatuated with his life story. I thought it would have been a really great animated musical where you have the luxury of all these different tricks and movements. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Greatest Showman kind of beat them to the punch, but I would argue there's still fertile ground to explore there.
Especially if it were animated.
Oh, yeah. Especially because The Greatest Showman only covered a really small part of his life. Oh. And also, I do think... I don't know if Disney would be capable of doing this, but a film that explores sort of his more unsavory aspects would be very valuable, because the film, Greatest Showman, kind of glosses them over in favor of, you gave all of these, ridiculed and ostracized people a platform, and isn't that beautiful? Even though he was exploiting them and also used legal loopholes to own a slave and then autopsied her body when she died.
LOL.
Yeah, that's a thing he did.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it's not a pretty one. And then two other random ones I really like. I want a musical on the Russian Revolution, even though Anastasia already beat us to that. But apparently they're working on a live action Anastasia, maybe. Like, because they own it now. They own the rights to the Don Bluth, not necessarily the Don Bluth film, but the script of which the Don Bluth film was based off of. I just think that's an interesting era in history, and just that sort of turn of the century 1920s.
Yeah.
Like, that was gorgeous in Princess and the Frog, and I would really love to see them explore that again, but in a really different geological setting. That, and I would also love to see the French Revolution. Like, I know that's, like, probably a little heavy for a Disney musical.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I just think Les Mis has owned that territory for too long. It's time for someone else to step up. I just think it's a big, sweeping epic. Like, if you want to go for more mature Disney like you did with Hunchback, I think that's an opportunity.
Oh, okay.
And then one final one real quick.
Yeah.
So, like we were talking before, you hadn't seen the... They actually did a whole series of these American folktale animations. They did one for Paul Bunyan. They did one for Calico Kid. But my personal favorite was John Henry, which, gorgeous animation, really good music, great voice acting. And I would love them to basically take a bunch of those stories and make a sort of Into the Woods for American folktales. Just set it in the Midwest, like, have Paul Bunyan, have John Henry, have... or Jesse James, or, like, a famous cowboy, and just make it this cool story about, like, the end of the West, and, deconstruction of that. I think that would be really cool.
They should make a, even though it's not... Do you remember the show Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman?
Vaguely.
They should
In my head, I keep picturing Dr. McStuffins, and then I'm like, no, that's not it at all.
Are you kidding? Oh my god, that's really funny that you would say that. No, I don't know why, like, when you said, like, the West, that was like a late 90s, like, early 2000s TV show drama about this female doctor in the West. And clearly, like, you can imagine what sort of situations would arise in that. That would be cool if they played with that idea, even though I don't know who, not literally call it Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, but, something along those lines.
Oh, yeah.
There's gotta be some sort of folk tale that is based off of anyway, so...
Yeah. One thing I've been dying for? Another film kind of set in the modern era, like the Goofy movie, where it's all modern technology and stuff, but with, like, just regular humans. I don't know. I think it would be... Like, I guess the question then would be, why don't you just do it live action? And maybe they could do it live action, but I think... I don't know. I would love to see just, like, a coming-of-age movie with, like, the Disney polish on it.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. For some reason, I picture that as, like, an all-girls pop-punk band, but...
Oh, interesting.
Like, just something in the 2000s. Like, I think you could do a lot of cool stuff with that. Like,
that's interesting.
I'd like to see Disney experiment more with, like animated stuff that's less magic-centric and more grounded, because I think there's a lot of fertile storytelling there.
What you mean, yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite animated films of all time is Persepolis, which is about, it's not a it's not a fairy tale, it's about the Iranian Revolution and the many ways in which it changed people's lives.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that covers all the, like, those are just a couple dream projects.
Right.
Will Disney ever listen to us? Probably not, but we like to believe.
We'll find an email to send this to.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Disney's not going anywhere, so they're gonna get to try everything eventually.
Right, yeah.
And, the last, 6 or 7 years of Disney have gotten me really excited at, now it really does feel like the possibilities are infinite.
Right, yeah.
And, yeah. So this was this little mini episode. I hope you enjoyed this sort of more bite-sized, digestible content. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll see you next week with our next little vignette.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Disney Desk. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and thumbs up this video. For more content, be sure to check out our Tumblr and look for us on Facebook. Have a magical day.